about the Lebanon PA Senior Center. We could have brought a lot more people, but I know you're all aware of the situation there. And as you know, I, along with many other seniors, have written letters, spoke to, and met with most of you concerning these problems at the Senior Center. And I know there's a file about 3 inches thick with complaints about the administrator of the Senior Center in not being flexible in working with the Area Agency on Aging. And there's a very hostile environment that has been created. These problems at the Senior Center have been going on for many years under the same administrator. In past, the previous commissioners would sweep these problems under the rug rather than deal with them. And I realize that these problems have been going on long before the new commissioners took office. And I just really applaud you because you are trying, and you have tried and are still trying to rectify this situation. And I really do know that you want what's best for the seniors. That being said, however, I know the commissioners had a meeting with Mr. Wiley Parker, who is the attorney for the Senior Center, about a letter he sent on behalf of the administrator and board of the Senior Center. This letter requested that the Area of the Aging side vacate the building because they're in competition, can you imagine, with their senior programs. How ridiculous is that? Mr. Parker sent the letter not knowing all the facts and problems at the Senior Center. He was told at this meeting just how much funding the Senior Center receives from the agency, including a large percentage of the salaries of the employees of the center, including the administrator, clerical help, and the janitor. He was also told that the agency was going to cut funding if the problem was not resolved. The commissioners were prepared to vacate the building. He was to convey this to the board at the Senior Center. Mr. Parker met with the board and the administrator on Monday. However, he did not convey much of anything because nothing was resolved. Not only was nothing resolved, the situation was made worse by the administrator stating that she was going to cut the hours for the activity center from 9, we usually have it from 9 to 1, cut them from 9 to 12. She also stated there are some new rules and regulations going to be made for the agency, as if there aren't enough now. She also stated she wants the use of the Area of the Agency's bus so she can run bus trips. Can you imagine the audacity of this senior administrator wanting the Area of the Aging's bus? How ludicrous is that? In the past 3 years, I have personally seen the agency activity side grow tremendously. And this is due mostly to Colleen Geyer. She managed these activity side. She has programs that create an atmosphere of fun and fellowship. Not so for the administrator at the Senior Center. One would think that being an administrator of a senior center, they would welcome programs that bring people into the building and make the building come to life. That's what the Area of the Aging activity side does. Most people are not aware that the Senior Center and the Area Agency on Aging are 2 separate organizations. I was not aware of this until I became more involved, and only then do you realize just how different they are. It certainly isn't the seniors at the center, it's the administrator that creates these problems. Since Mr. Parker did not convey the facts of the problem, and if the problem isn't solved, meaning the administrator, the entire Area Agency on Aging will vacate the Senior Center. May I suggest, since Mr. Parker didn't make the facts known, that the commissioner send a letter to the administrator, to the board, and to Mr. Parker, making their facts clear that the Area of the Aging, the entire Area of the Aging, is going to move from the building and find a new location because they can no longer function under such a hostile environment. And as long as this present administrator is managing the center, things will not change. The Area on Aging funds about 84%. The administrator said 70, but that's 70 or 80. Anybody with a little common financial sense would think, what's going to happen if they pull their funding? The city is going to be stuck with that building because they certainly aren't in a position to address the 84% of that. And this has been going on for years, and nobody has stepped up to the plate. It's time that something's done. Now, I realize that you have many other things on your agenda, so let's get this problem solved as quickly as possible. This has been going on long enough, so let's finally put an end to it once and for all. And unless you are at the center, you do not know the hostile environment that goes on. Wouldn't that make a great headline in the newspaper? Senior Administrator of Lebanon Valley Senior Center throws area of the aging and the seniors out of a senior center. How ridiculous is that? As far as competing with that's the reason they want to get rid of us. We're in competition. They have very, very, very limited programs. I just am very passionate about this, and I do appreciate all you guys are trying to do. I want to know what is aggressively being done to find a place for the whole area of the aging, because if you just move the area of the aging activity side up, not going to work. Those people upstairs have to work in that environment too, and you would not believe the hostile environment that is at the senior center.
Mrs. Hoffman, we appreciate your passion for this thing, and we are right in the middle of the negotiations with all the parties involved. So we are taking as active a role as has been taken, and I don't want to play our hand as to what options that we're going to be invoking. We're doing the best that we can, but it's a process. We did meet with Wiley Parker. You're correct. And we'll be meeting and reconvening a meeting with the same players so that we can move this forward. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that here's what we're going to do tomorrow. But I'm just, you know, that we're involved in the middle of this. So, but we don't want to, play our hand ahead of necessary time here. So.
But their lease runs out by July.
We're well aware. Yes, we're well aware.
I know, and I do honestly. I do really appreciate all you're doing. I really do, because this has been going on so long, and I do applaud you because you are taking an active step for this, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Hoffman.
Thank you.
And the next time you come, you don't need to bring your attorney with you.
This is my son. He's just there.
May I just make a public
Yes,
comment?
Randy.
And I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear, because of course my mother talks to me about this on a daily basis many, many times. But am I understanding the facts, though? The city of Lebanon owns the building, right? They own the building.
That is correct.
They lease it to the senior center for $1. Okay.
Yes.
Now, my understanding is the senior center of Lebanon has about 700 some members, and they pay $12 a year, so they generate about $10,000 of income. Yet the county's taxpayers pay, and I heard numbers from $80,000 to $107,000 to basically keep the building functioning and pay the utilities and rent and so forth.
And house the area agency on aging.
Right, that houses the area of the aging. And that's what mystifies me, is that how the county can pay such a large percentage of this and then be dictated to by an entity that pays such a small amount, and that no one on their side recognizes that if you guys move out, you know what I mean, it's going to completely collapse.
It's the classic tail wagging the dog program.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, but those are the facts, though. Is that correct?
That's pretty darn
Or am I
accurate.
missing?
You are missing nothing.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
I think
So.
It blows your mind to think that they can not see, and Mr. Parker
No,
being the attorney.
that's okay.
So she,
So, thank you.
Yeah.
We don't want to be disparaging, but yes.
I have a quick comment too. Doesn't pales to comparison there. But anyway, the information that I got about the bylaws.
I'm sorry, would you
I'm
introduce
sorry.
yourself and
Sandy Chitty,
where you hail from?
Sandy Chitty from West Cornwall. Okay, and the information. Well, first of all, it was hard for me to get bylaws. They didn't want to give me bylaws for the Senior Center of Lebanon Valley Incorporated until I signed a waiver saying that I would return them once I got them. Okay, so I signed the waiver, got the bylaws, read over them, and found out that, you're supposed to do these things. You have a general meeting, and you have, you solicit, members to bring people up on the list, of who's going to be elected to the board for when there's a, for each year when they have general people dropping out or dying off. However, in the past, couple months or maybe a year, we've heard that there's 2 people handpicked for the board. Now, if we've got a board there that's handpicked of people that are the director's friends, I mean, how do you get anything done? And that's, you know, I would like to know, I'd like to know more information on how nonprofits work, you know, especially the senior center. How does this work? Why was it created? How does it, if it doesn't work according to its bylaws, what do you do about it?
Is that a rhetorical question?
Well, not
I mean,
really.
if you'd like to really know,
I would
we
like
can
to know.
we can meet with you at another time to go into all
I
that.
would love that.
But that is not for this moment. We can't.
Well, it is in respect
No, in
to-
terms of this public meeting that we're trying to conduct here, if you want to do that, we'll be happy to bring you up to date on how this evolved. And we've heard that, you know, through Mike Cristovenci a number of times, so we have it down pretty well. But again, we are in the middle of the negotiations to get to and we know the timeline, and we are prepared to do what's necessary to get this fixed.
Okay.
That's what I'm assuring you.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for answers of why this why is that
Well,
runs the way
yeah,
it is.
to get you
Not
from there
the
to
history, not the history. Why it's running the way it is today. Handpicking board members.
yeah, that's hard to explain from here at this
Yeah,
moment, but
according to the bylaws, it shouldn't be.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Sandy Arnold, and I'm from North End.
Yes,
And I
Sandy.
just want to let you know that in the senior center, the administrator, I think, is very prejudicial to certain groups, ethnic groups, and I don't think that's right. My taxpayer, I'm paying taxes, and we're supplying money in there. How can that go on like that? How can that go on? She doesn't want Hispanic music in there in her senior center. That's really discriminatory. And I don't like that at all, at all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I could say more, but I won't.
Well, thank you.
Could I just ask one question for clarification? I heard it said that the building itself is leased to Lebanon Valley Senior Center for $1. For how long is that lease?
Ad infinitum, as far as is that correct? I don't think it's a year-to-year thing. I think it's a open-ended.
It is.
I think it renews each year if
Oh, does
nothing
it?
else is done, is my understanding, yeah. It continues
It
year to year
continues,
until
yeah.
it's.
I'm going to city council meeting too, because I think they have to be made aware of this.
Can say that we intend to resolve it. We really do.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate that,
And
honestly. We do.
I'd like to clarify that we were negotiating a contract which is covered by the Sunshine Law, and so therefore a lot